Hey, Olive, Arlo, and Frank. We're in the book of Mark. We're on chapter 5. Mark is a lot faster than Matthew. And a couple things ago, because I'm doing these alternatively back and forth, Old and New Testament. So 2 books ago, we did Matthew. It talked about Jesus in a very Jewish way. It's one of the things it's known for is gospel to the Jewish people. Now, this is the gospel to the Romans. Romans were no-nonsense people. They didn't fool around. They were down and dirty. So this is like bing, bing, bing. We go through the story. So let's see what we have here. So they came to the other side of the lake. And so we saw before that they were leaving for the other side of the lake, and Jesus actually fell asleep in the boat, and the winds came up. There was a storm, and everybody was freaked out, and they're like, Lord, how can you be asleep in the boat? And he said, well, you don't have a lot of faith. And then he stilled the waves. Hey, he created the heavens and the earth and all that's in them in 6 days, and then he rested. Because even though we believe in the Trinity, the Godhead, Jesus is God. We believe in one God. Jesus is that one God. God the Father is that one God. The Holy Spirit is that one God. So they came to the other side of the lake, to the region of the Gerasenes. And so these guys are probably still kind of freaked out. Because they were like, who is this? That the wind and the sea obey him. Just as Jesus was getting out of the boat, a man with an unclean spirit. So this says healing of a demoniac up here. It's an unclean spirit. It's an evil spirit. I'm looking at the text notes. So just as Jesus was getting out of the boat, a man with an unclean spirit came to him. So he's demon possessed. Came from the tombs and met him. He lived among the tombs. So he lived at the graveyard. And no one could bind him anymore, not even with a chain. So if they tried to chain this guy up, I don't know if it's saying they could get the chain on him and he'd break it, but they probably can't even get the chain on him. He's just this crazy man. He lives in a graveyard. And these people go regularly to, pay tribute to their loved ones who have gone before them. And this guy's out there harassing them. For his hands and feet had often been bound with chains and shackles, but he had torn, so it does say, he had torn the chains apart and broken the shackles in pieces. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Each night and every day among the tombs and in the mountains, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and bowed down before him. Now, one thing, I want to stop here for a second. I don't pre-read this so that I come off like an expert. I've read this chapter many times since becoming a believer, and I'm an old man with a bad memory, so I forget a lot of this stuff. But I'm reading it like a story to you. And so a lot of times I'll make a guess, and it turns out it's either right or wrong based on what the story was. It's not like I don't know anything about it. It's just that I don't pre-read it. I want to read it just like I'm reading. Like if you said, hey, Grandpa, read Mark chapter 5 to me, that I would go, okay, and I'd read it to you. I wouldn't read it first and then read it to you after I knew everything that it said, just so I'd sound smart. Because trust me, I ain't smart. No one was strong enough to subdue him. Each night and every day among the tombs and in the mountains, he would cry out and cut himself with stones. So this guy's crazy. When he saw Jesus from a distance, he ran and bowed down before him. So this is a crazy man with demons inside of him. And he bows down to Jesus. I wonder why. He ran down and bowed down before him. Then he cried out with a loud voice, "Leave me alone, Jesus, Son of the Most High God. I implore you, by God, do not torment me." So this is a non-believer. This is a demon-possessed man. And he knows that Jesus is the Son of God. And he begs him in God's name not to mess with him. For Jesus, do not torment me. For Jesus had said to him, "Come out of that man, you unclean spirit." Jesus asked him, "What is your name?" Now, this isn't the man. This is the spirit. "My name is Legion, for we are many." So a legion is something that they would be very familiar with in this part of the Roman Empire, in Judea, where this is all taking place. And they would go, okay, a legion is, I forget if it's like 100 soldiers or 50 soldiers. I forget how many are in a legion, but it's a bunch. So he's acting like he's one, but he's one legion, for we are many. He begged Jesus repeatedly not to send them out of the region. There on a hillside, a great herd of pigs was feeding, and the demonic spirits begged him, "Send us into the pigs. Let us enter them." So, first off, there shouldn't have been pigs there, because pigs are not kosher. But there were. And they didn't want to just be wandering. They could eventually find somebody that they could enter, just like this guy. But they want to go into the pigs. Let us enter them. Jesus gave them permission. So the unclean spirits came out and went into the pigs. Then the herd rushed down the steep slope into the lake, and about 2,000 were drowned in the lake. So if a pig weighs, 500 pounds, then that's like, 1,000 pounds of pig, of pork. And they were drowned in the lake. 2,000 pigs. That's an enormous herd of pigs. So what do you think? What do you think's going to say? They're going to go like, hey, way to go, Jesus. That guy down there that used to harass us while we went to try to visit the graves of our ancestors is now clothed and in his right mind, which we'll see in a minute. Is that what they're going to do? Well, let's see. Now the herdsmen ran off and spread the news in the town and countryside, and the people went out to see what had happened. They came to Jesus and saw the demon-possessed man sitting there, clothed and in his right mind, the one who had had the legion, and they were afraid. Those who had seen what had happened to the demon-possessed man reported it, and they also told about the pigs. Then they began to beg Jesus to leave their region. As he was getting into the boat, the man who had been demon-possessed asked if he could go with him. But Jesus did not permit him to do so. Instead, he said to him, "Go to your home and to your people, and tell them what the Lord has done for you, that he had mercy on you." So he went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis what Jesus had done for him, and all were amazed. So he turns him into an evangelist. But all the other people that saw this, they were begging him to leave. It's a bad thing, begging Jesus to leave, because he'll leave, you know. If that's what you really want, he'll leave. They're upset partially because they're scared. Like, oh man. Because in their minds, he just killed 2,000 pigs. And I'm sure that they can see like these pigs floating in the Sea of Galilee there. And within a couple of days, they're going to be bloated and, well, depending what time of the year. If it's really cold in the lake, they'll stay at the bottom, and then as spring arrives, they'll pop up and they'll just be nasty. They'll stink. So now he's crisscrossing across the Sea of Galilee in this boat. When Jesus had crossed again in a boat to the other side, a large crowd gathered around him, and he was by the sea. Then one of the synagogue leaders named Jairus came up, and when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet. He asked him urgently, "My little daughter is near death. Come and lay your hands on her so that she may be healed and live." Jesus went with him, and a large crowd followed and pressed around him. Now a woman was there who had been suffering from a hemorrhage for 12 years. So what's going on is there's some sort of internal bleeding that this woman has. And it may even be some sort of a women's monthly cycle that just keeps going and keeps going. But she would be iron deficient, and she'd be tired. And people back then all had to work. There wasn't any welfare or anything like that. Well, I mean, people begged. That was welfare, being a beggar. She had been suffering from a hemorrhage for 12 years. And she endured a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all that she had. Yet instead of getting better, she grew worse. When she heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his cloak. For she kept saying, "If only I touch his clothes, I will be healed." Now, by his cloak, they're talking about a prayer shawl, which a rabbi would wear. I have a prayer shawl someplace, where I did anyway. They're pretty cool. They kind of go around your neck. They're like a scarf, but they hang straight down. You don't, bundle up your neck like you do with a scarf. She kept saying, "If only I touch his clothes, I will be healed." At once, the bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her disease. So she didn't go up and ask Jesus to do this. She decided, if I could touch him, I'll be healed. And she was right. Jesus knew at once that power had gone out from him. He turned around in the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" And he knew who it was. He's God. He knows everything. His disciples said to him, "You see the crowd pressing against you, and you say, 'Who touched me?'" But he looked around to see who had done it. Then the woman, with fear and trembling, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell down before him and told him the whole truth. he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well." And that's true. Jesus only healed her because her faith healed her. And this is a parallel. If you remember, this story started with a guy named Jairus saying, "Jesus, you need to come right away and heal my daughter." But now this woman stops that progression, and he heals her. Go in peace and be healed of your disease. While he was still speaking, people came from the synagogue leader's house saying, "Your daughter has died. Why trouble the teacher any longer?" But Jesus, paying no attention to what was said, told the synagogue leader, "Do not be afraid, just believe." He did not let anyone follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. They came to the house of the synagogue leader, where he saw noisy confusion and people weeping and wailing loudly. People weeping and wailing, some of them were friends and relatives of the dead girl. Some of them were people that just did that, and they would be paid to do that. It seems silly to us, but I mean, in these communist dictatorships, people are forced to go out and cry when the leader of the country dies, and they'll have a procession going through the country, and all these people out there go like, "Whoa!" and it's all phony. Some of this was phony, some of it wasn't, but I'm having me some coffee, but some was phony. So they were in the house. So when he entered, he said to them, "Why are you distressed and weeping? The child's not dead, but asleep." People think that Jesus didn't have a sense of humor. This is a Donald Trump level troll. He's trolling them. They know that this girl's dead. And he's gone like, "Hey, what's your problem? She's only asleep." Yeah, that's the ticket. And they began making fun of him. But he forced them all outside, and he took the child's father and mother and his own companions, so I think it was Peter, John, and James, and went into the room where the child was. Then gently taking the child by the hand, he said to her, "Talitha koum," which means, "Little girl, I say to you, get up." The girl got up at once and began to walk around. She was 12 years old. They were completely astonished at this. He strictly ordered that no one should know about this and told them to give her something to eat. Now, I don't know why he said, "Don't tell anybody about this." Maybe he was saving that for Lazarus when he raises him from the dead. But he cleared the place out, and he just had those 3 witnesses. That's one thing that, talk about the veracity, the truthfulness of the Bible. Well, I have not found anything that's untrue. Everything's not literal. Every word is true. And one reason that you know it's true is because he's in places where he has a witness. Now, when he went to the grave for 3 days, there was nobody in the grave that's alive anyway, that was alive, that was there. They can attest to that. But things like this, he usually takes people with him, and he takes, it's the same crew. That's his homies, Peter, James, and John. And they're a clown show. Peter gets halfway through the book of Acts, and he's still telling God what he's not going to do, You know, oh, I'm a Jewish guy. I'm not going to eat that meat. You'll never make me eat that meat. Well, no, he's God. You're not. But Peter still winds up being a writer, a key player in the biblical narrative, and same with John and James. Anyway, till next time with chapter 6, peace out.